Knew the contract.
We're live. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order. And for the pledge, Councilman Hunt would like to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. Do roll call.
Supervisor Kennedy.
Here.
Councilwoman Foote. Here. Councilman Hunt.
Here.
Councilman Davenport.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Van Mansfield.
Okay. We are going to skip ahead. We're going to do the public hearing. So I'm going to make a motion to open the public hearing on the proposed local law to amend the Marbletown Town Code to create an incentive for constructing accessory dwelling units. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay.
Thank you.
Town Clerk Heather Moody, legally noticed in the Daily Freeman on Saturday, April 26, 2025. The legal notice was posted on the town website and posted on the town clerk's community bulletin board outside of her office. Public comments will be welcome. We can just listen at this point. We can't talk. There's not many people here, but if you could just, try to limit the comments to 3 or 4 minutes, we appreciate it. So if nobody signed up,
I didn't.
which is no big deal, so if somebody'd like to speak, you can raise your hand and I'll call on you. Dean, do you want to say anything or? No? You good? Yep, this just, okay. Okay. Okay, no comments on the tax incentive for the accessory dwelling units?
Yeah, pro or con.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. Before we do the,
Michelle can see us.
she can, good, so we're online, awesome. I'm going to turn the floor over quick to Lou, our highway superintendent. Lou wants to give us a little update. He's getting into the busy season for the highway workers.
Yeah, and I want to be here for.
Why don't you come up a little bit so they can hear on the internet?
For the resolution for truck equipment.
Okay, yep.
I'll stay for that, but we're getting into paving season. I'll get the list of roads from the 284 to you. The budget just passed, and I think those chips is going to stay the same.
Good.
That's what I'm told. So I'll give you a list for next month. The guys have put in about 800 feet of culvert pipe so far since the middle of March. It's doing pretty good. Changing pipes. Just got hit with about 3 and 4 inches of rain, and the roads fare pretty well. Not a lot of flooding. But that's it.
Good, thanks. So if anybody wants their driveway paved, they can see Lou in the hall afterwards. Oh, no? All right, never mind. That's next year. That's only even number years, not odd number years. Sorry.
Just, if I could add 209, please.
Yeah, 209.
You know,
209.
we've gotten probably a dozen calls, and rather than tell them to call the state, I called, so I stopped now. I'm just having people call 1-800-POTHOLE. I know they started to,
They're starting a little bit on stuff.
they started and they got moved. It was, I know, they had a big sinkhole on Albany Avenue. They got moved us.
I'll tell you what, 28 up in Shandaken, there's some spots that are
Yeah.
really bad. Your car really going 50 miles an hour. It's pretty scary.
Again, that 1-800-POTHOLE is a DOT number. They write it up and they send it in. I know they're out there.
Yeah.
I know they're out there. And it's gonna get patched and there's no capital improvement.
That's two years they're doing 209, right? I heard 2 years they're going to come
Did you hear
through.
that from
Somebody said,
Dennis?
I don't know who I heard it from.
Dennis is able to help navigate the planning.
I thought 2027, 209 is going to, in Stone Ridge, is going to get a complete redo. Somebody told me that, so I don't remember who.
We do get a lot of bills.
Can you get those little tags that you can put to your phone so when you fall in the potholes, they can
Yeah.
find you?
Well, what did Michelle say? Some of those potholes you could rent out as 2-bedroom, 1 baths. They're so big.
The rain
So,
did-
thanks, guys.
The rain didn't do it any help.
Yeah. No, everybody's doing the best they can. Thank you, Lou. Okay, we're going to do vouchers.
Okay, so there are no amendments from the April 15th meeting. So for this evening, we have general vouchers, number 227 through 253, for a total payment of $28,609.67. For the highway fund, we have vouchers number 120 through 135, for a total payment of $16,328.31. For the High Falls Water District, we have vouchers number 49 through 55 for a total payment of $29,193.83. For the RMC vouchers, we have vouchers number 71 through 84 for a total payment of $19,934.74. And for the community preservation, we have voucher number 6 for a total payment of $269.97. If I could have a motion for discussion.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Any discussion on the vouchers?
Just trying to.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, just to talk about Big Josh and the progress, this, for 25,000, just where does it fit now in the overall contract and budget for that, the meters and all?
so the meters were roughly, they were $800 each to repair, and there's roughly 200 meters, a little bit more than 200, so it was about a $160,000 contract. With that 160,000, the specs for the meters were certain attachments, but when Josh gets into the basement, sometimes those attachments aren't there, so he has to purchase some things from the store. Terry, who's our clerk of the works, approves everything. He goes in and looks. There's also instances where we have to put shutoff valves inside now. Currently, the shutoff valves are at the road, and we're putting them inside the basements now before the meters. So in the future, we won't have to do work out at the road to turn the meters, to turn the water off. And some of the meters were put too close to the foundation, so he's got to do some work to extend the piping at times. So there are some additional costs. The vast majority come in at $800, but there's a few of them that go a few $100 over. And I don't know, you'll probably see him soon. He's got to dig up the High Falls in front of the post office because there's 5 different connections there to go to those buildings. So that'll be a little extra work, but it needs to be done.
I wonder if we could just maybe get a revised scope with him, or just like something in writing, an update. I know Terry is kind of supervising or reviewing it.
Yep.
And I know we discussed it in the board as well, the High Falls District Board. It was just kind of covered there briefly. But any update and just projection on now, what would be the new timeline?
Okay. Okay, we will. What's he got, about 90 done? We thought about 50 are in the system, and he's got another 40 that have gone in.
I don't think that one, but 50 and 80.
So maybe 80-ish. So we're more than a third. We're between a third and a half. But Josh regularly emails us or stops in, and he's running into some people that don't want to have meters put in, so they're not giving them access.
What happens then?
Well, so then we probably will jack up their bill, and then eventually they'll have no choice but to come and have a meter put in because they don't,
What, do they think it's their advantage not to have a new meter in?
I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe, there's people that have finished their basements and they've built around the meters. So he goes in there and you've got a nice finished basement and he can't get into his meters. So the wall needs to get torn apart to get in there. So that's been happening a little bit. And there's people that just have told them they're not going to do it. So Terry recommends raising their quarterly charges to a point where they'll have no choice but to allow us in there. But I'll reach out to Josh and Terry tomorrow. Any other vouchers?
Hey, Lou, there was something on yours, it was like, sorry, I can't, it was like $8,700 or something like that.
J&J Equipment.
J&J Equipment, thank you.
This,
Okay.
That's-
How long did you have the sweeper for?
1 month. It's off OGS contract.
Okay.
It's 1 month. It's the pickup sweeper that picks it up. That
Right.
one that picks it up.
You should have just waited till it rained.
Any other questions on any vouchers? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Carried. The minutes, can I get a motion for discussion?
So moved.
All right, Heather emailed them out yesterday. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
They're fine, it means they're fine. He's more meticulous about that stuff.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, now we're going to have public comment on the resolutions. Resolution on the energy audit agreement, we're going to poll. We're not going to vote on that tonight. So if anybody has any questions, you can talk to us afterwards on that one. That should be on the agenda at our next meeting in 2 weeks. So would anybody like to speak on any of the 4 resolutions that we're going to be discussing?
I would just like to thank the group for the great work and
Great.
all the work we did.
Thanks.
You guys,
Thanks, Lou.
you guys.
Well,
So,
these guys.
great. So anybody else like to speak or say anything? Okay, we're going to close this portion of public comment. Resolution 47 is the tax incentive to construct the accessory dwelling units. Can I get a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second? Okay, this is, the state passed this law about not taxing accessory dwelling units up to $200,000 for, it's a 10-year program, and it has to, it's 0% for the first 5, then it's like 20% a year for the next 5 years. It's in increments until it hits 100%. The good thing, it's only for new accessory dwelling units. If we vote on this tonight to support it, it'll be only for applications tonight after. It won't be retroactive to anybody that's done it in the past. And as most of the board knows, and I'm sure a lot of people know, any new accessory dwelling units in Marbletown cannot be for short-term rentals. So we're not going to be giving a tax break to somebody to basically run a business. It'll be only for long-term rentals. So Ulster County recently passed this about a week or 2 ago.
Question. They can be for short-term rentals. You just can't get the tax incentive that way.
No. So,
True or false?
no, so the law doesn't say anything about the tax incentive not being prohibiting short-term rentals. Our law allowing short-term rentals prohibits them from being short-term anymore. Our ADUs from being short-term rentals. So if somebody's got an accessory dwelling they built 10 years ago, they can short-term rental it because they're grandfathered in. When we passed a law, I think it is in 19 or 20 or 21, we prohibited people from getting an accessory dwelling unit and then short-term renting it. So Sean actually has people coming in to register them, and they've been built in the last couple of years, and he tells them they're not allowed to do short-term rentals. So can they do it? Yes, but we can give them violations. We can talk to the Airbnb websites and have them taken down. We do have ways to,
They can't do it legally.
they can't do it legally, right? I mean, if they got 50 people that each want to come up once a week and they book it themselves, we're obviously not going to be able to control everything, but they can't get permitted from town. And then this tax incentive would go through the assessor's office.
And again, just so everybody understands, the tax incentive is on the ADU only, not on your entire premises.
Correct. Right, your current assessment does not go down,
This is only for property taxes, not school tax.
Not school.
not school, but the county passed it, so it would be your town, general and highway, and your county taxes now. So, but not school. But we can reach out to the school.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's a good incentive for them.
Well,
Well, I don't know if you just saw, but Rondell
School
just
districts
raised their
trump
senior
Congress.
exemption. I don't know if anybody noticed that. They just raised their senior exemption. It was extremely low. And I don't know if they went to the max, but they went up significantly from the current level. So they're looking at this stuff. And the town can do it with just a resolution. We have to do local law. So they can do it in one meeting and do it quick. They don't have to set a public hearing, so. All right, any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, Resolution 48 is authorizing the purchase of playground equipment for Marbletown Town Park. Can I get a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, this is to purchase from Copman Incorporated playground equipment for $141,898.44. And, it's much needed. The equipment down there is pretty old, hasn't been upgraded. And this isn't for all the playground equipment, right? It's just the one section, one area up front. So,
Going to put in for a grant for next year to upgrade the list.
so, Jill, I think in my time here, this might be the biggest expense we've had at any one time. Yeah, I don't think I've signed a check over.
So Rich, now we've got these, you can sort of look at these you've got printed this out for us. Where would the money come out? Which one would this?
So we'll take it out of the parks budget and we'll move the money. Eventually, it's going to come out of the reserves.
So the building repair?
No, we'll discuss it afterwards, but the form I gave, we could take it, listen, it's going to be a board decision.
Right.
We could take it out of the, one of our reserves for building, because it is a town property and they're specific. But I think we have enough in general savings that we don't have to touch the reserves. But that's, again, we can have that discussion.
Right.
It's a board decision, not my decision, so. Sometimes you move the money and at the end of the year, you got more money, so you're putting it back in there. So we could do reserves and then reevaluate at the end of the year, see how the rest of the budget's doing.
So it, just in summary, could come from general savings, which is 1.4, or building repair could be considered maintenance or repair even.
Yeah.
And then the capital is the 275. But
It could come from any one of those three.
there was discussion about not doing 2 pavilions at one point. I don't
Well,
know.
this isn't a pavilion. This is just a
That's the
playground.
compound.
We're going to discuss that, I think, we may put some of that in the grant application. This is just playground
Well,
equipment.
this is all four. It's 141,000. Phase one includes the 2 pavilions, 8 picnic tables, and 4 benches
No,
for 27,000.
no, here, this is, so,
So just
Yeah.
3 pieces,
Yeah.
4 pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
yep, so
Okay.
the pavilions, picnic tables, benches is 27,800. So we don't have, that's not going to be like a contract with somebody. We would just go buy that. So we don't necessarily have to bring that. This is a contract we're going to
The
sign.
concern about the Copan, about doing this now is that if tariffs come in, this kind of stuff like this
Could go
playground
up,
could really
right.
go up significantly. I mean, I would say probably 10 to 20%, so.
I just, for whatever it's worth, for me, I'm looking at purchasing vehicles, and if I purchase them before June 1st, they're $50,000 less than after June 1st. 50,000 a unit.
Yeah.
I'm looking at 4 to 5 units. So, when you look at what's going on with this, I'm sure, I couldn't run the numbers, but I'm sure it is going to have some kind of effect. My question is just, when we look at all of this, and I just want to throw, because we're doing the facilities, the bathrooms over again,
Mhm.
right? We've got a grant coming in for that, right? So we have to
Portion.
match that grant with at least,
50% of that grant.
right? And the grant gives us how much?
It's 100,000,
So we've got to match it with
50,
50. Okay.
a minimum of 50.
Right.
And if it's 180,000, we have to come up with 80,000.
So our overall capital that we're looking to infuse into that is a minimum of 191.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's a healthy investment, you know,
But
we're
we
gonna have,
haven't put anything in that part.
no, I know, so and we want to,
That's not even, again, we're pulling back from the pavilions right now.
well,
and a
we,
lot of this
right,
stuff.
and we still can.
And we can do, but that stuff's more incremental because.
We can buy 4 picnic tables or 8
Yes.
picnic tables, that's not a problem.
I bet either, yeah.
Well, Kenny's gonna buy them with the savings from the trucks, because he's gonna order them before June 1st.
You can put your name on the picnic table.
You can put your name on it. You can
Remember
put
where
your
that,
name on the
remember where
picnic
that
table.
business is located. Those picnic tables will be going to a nice community and that.
So, and thank
Oh, you
you,
want to pay the
Jill.
freight to get them here?
Well, we have to thank Jill and Jess and the Parks and Recreation and Trails Committee. You guys did a lot of work. Thank you,
And,
as always.
So Jill, do you know, is this number secure? This quote that they gave us?
Because it says delivery.
It says May 30th. If it's these numbers are good till May 30th.
Okay, so, all right, good.
So we'll sign it in the morning and send it off. And
June 1st.
I mean, listen, we bought the truck and it came back with a tariff of 3,000. So there may be some things out of our,
The only thing I would caution you about is, and this is something to take up with the committee, which is, I know you guys, again, you know, there are a lot of other things we want to do there. I know that you've shown some interest and you're going to bring this to the committee about that, which I think sounds really cool. The way, what's the water slide or something like that.
Oh, that,
Yeah, but I mean, we can't do that right now. But what I'm
Right.
saying is though, as you guys figure out where this playground equipment's going to go, think about where these other things are going to go. So we make sure that we don't make more work for ourselves. And I mean, I'm stating the obvious, but that's my job.
absolutely.
okay, any other questions, comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'm going to use that.
Resolution 49 is to purchase, this was a tricky resolution to try to write. We're purchasing like the second half of that truck. So we're kind of purchasing like the body and all the other stuff with it. So can I get a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Okay. Again, this is, the truck is being built, portion of it, right? The chassis. Yep. What's that cost? About 160?
Yeah.
So yeah, so we agreed to have part of the truck. So what we're doing is, instead of the truck being built in one location, part of it's being built in one spot. That was the contract. We did that in December, January. And then
The truck is being built in one location, the frame.
Correct.
the frame,
Okay.
and then
And everything that you need to put on it to utilize the truck, the body,
is going to be in Ellenville.
bingo.
And again, this was on Sourcewell, which is, Sourcewell is an organization that goes out to bid for municipalities. So when you purchase things off of Sourcewell, all the bidding is already done. We don't have to go out and get quotes. They've done it for us already. So they've got their vendors that do
This
it.
is the same as the other truck says.
Right.
Other than it's the chassis is automatic.
This one, the chassis is automatic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
This truck was approved for purchase before Lou became
Yeah.
the highway.
Yeah, so we purchased to buy this truck probably in 21 or 22. It's been a
If you could've got it
while.
Delivered, you probably would have saved, I'm gonna say close to 100,000,
If what?
close to 50 to 100,000. That's it.
If it was delivered?
Delivered before.
If it was bought back, when it got approved,
I think that was in the 280s or 290s.
so you think so?
Yeah, I think that was pretty expensive still, but we can look. I mean, we've got it.
He's right, the next one is 50,000.
It's not small.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
We're gonna have to move that to 1.75 units, Lou. Yeah, he's like, stop, you're killing me. What's that?
You're still getting less than
I started buying internationals because miles per gallon is about 20% boost.
So cool. All right.
We'll talk about it.
All right. Any other questions or comments on the highway truck body? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right. Resolution 50, our final resolution of the night, is the quick claim deed for the properties on Duck Pond Road. Can I get a motion for discussion? A second? No second? I'll second it. So I did, a little handout to everybody. We added one whereas with some parcels, which I gave to Heather. But I had already printed the resolution. So if you look at Duck Pond Road on each side, on the right and the left, there's two small parcels that go to properties behind it. No, there's two on the left, two on the right. Yeah, there's two. I think they gave one away years ago. We're doing three. One was given away, town board gave away years ago.
All right, sorry.
For some reason. I think that's what happened, but so we have, there's three now. When the planning board approved it, probably in the 70s, they kept small little parcels in case the town road ever wanted to go through those to the back properties. But it's pretty clear now that nobody's going to do that. And there's some trees and brush, and some neighbors a couple years ago had complained that trees are falling on their property. We didn't even know we owned this property. And when we looked at it, we kind of felt there's no use for the town. We're not going to put a road in through other people. And I think one of them's a farm on the Kingston side. It's a big.
And also the trees were causing you a high liability and a cost. There was gonna be a substantial cost to clearing the
Right,
trees
'cause
that
we-
we were just complaining about.
So we sent a letter to neighbors saying if they'd like it. Some neighbors, the extra property, some neighbors wanted it to add it on, other neighbors didn't. So if both neighbors wanted it, we split it down the middle. They paid the survey costs, and it'll be added to their lots. There is a provision where they can never put a habitable building on that area. It won't increase it for building. They can put a shed there or something, but they can't put anything, living space on that extra property. But they're pretty small. And the reason we're doing this, and you can explain it better, it's really weird, but
We did one of the transfers and they went to sell their property and it came back with the title company, came back with a potential cloud on the title because the way that the original transfer was done in the 70s, the town was actually given the road, but these paper streets weren't incorporated into the description of the road and it wasn't clear.
so the developer still owned them. And the
Right, the developer
LLC
doesn't
was
exist anymore.
non-existent. We
And
don't even know if they're
the
alive.
law basically, I mean, so there's a difference here between title and law. So from the legal standpoint, it was the town's, but from a title standpoint, there was a cloud on the title. And
So we went to a judge. So Tracy petitioned the court, right? And then the
to
court
declare the town the owner.
declared us, right?
Basically, we did what's called an Article 15, which is basically it cleans the title up. We had to do an advertisement and show that nobody still survived actually claiming ownership in the land. And it turns out it was a really old developer because in the title abstract for the other pieces of property that you're gonna sell, one of them, the same owner came up and the person who wanted the transfers in the deed, he actually even states that he's the last surviving member of that corporation. And it was the last asset of the corporation. It would have been sort of interesting. It not actually even in Duck Pond, but another piece of property in the town. So it sort of was very cool to see that this week, that abstract showed the same owner. But anyway, so.
So this will allow us
With
to
the
give the
board,
property
you guys-
to the
you guys,
owners,
I mean,
to other
it's
people.
costing you some money to have done this, but it was still substantially less than if you would have to maintain those trees and the fact that the property owners were claiming.
You think, what did it cost us to do this?
So we had to do a survey of the lots.
And they didn't pay for
And
it?
then the legal.
No, the other, I thought that, no,
One of them did it, and then the other two, we needed the survey descriptions, remember?
they were going to one person.
Right. they're
That's
going
why we didn't have them surveyed originally, but we had to do it for court.
descriptions, because otherwise what are we getting court to authorize those two? But it was still, from the standpoint of not having to clear the trees that were causing an issue because these had been left for so long. I think the town still savings.
Town-
Was it out of pocket or something that?
No, so when you go down and maybe the fourth house in, you start to go down the hill, right to the right.
Right.
And then when you went down,
Basically, we're 3 50-foot strips.
Yeah.
They were just there,
Along the road, 50,
heading to adjoining
Each side.
properties. So it's.
So we gave
it's called
25
paper streets,
feet
so
to
that
each
if
person.
somebody develops a
Comes out
lot,
Gruner's backyard.
you know, like,
And-
if
No,
if
because
Davenport
past
came
it
in
is
and
a
wanted
farm
to
that
develop
comes-
an adjoining piece to
There's a
the
farm
pond,
that comes back.
then you could have built a road through that strip. Theoretically, that's, you know, the old developments, you used to leave access points to neighboring properties in case you wanted to continue to expand the development. But otherwise, you have all of these dead-end streets with no access.
so then this goes to these property owners. It goes on their tax liability
Yes.
too.
Correct.
So we'll sign the deeds then now?
Yeah.
So they were running into problems with either trying to get a loan or trying to sell or whatever,
Yes.
whatever they're trying to, that's interesting.
That's exactly. When somebody tried to sell
The
it,
title company came back and
Yeah.
said.
and you know, it's funny, the one house who's gonna get one of these, his house just went listed like 2 days ago. So it's good that we're getting it done, because it would hold up the sales.
I mean, and the one property owner who we dealt with sold, but he bought it, but he still is a Marbletown resident. You didn't lose him as a resident, they just sold
Yeah.
one house and bought another
Yep.
in town.
So,
Not that, you know,
yeah, when you look at these, there's no way a
We
town
don't-
road's gonna go through these properties.
And
It's
we've
just
done-
not gonna happen, you know? They're
we've
never
done
gonna do it.
other paper street transfers, like the Rockcliffe.
Paper road,
And,
yeah.
and there was no issues, but this one, the title company and raised the claim.
So this is just closing this chapter of that. And this has nothing to do with
Property for sale.
nothing to do with that. It's different. So. All right, any other questions?
So it's just that you're advising us to do this.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no,
Yes. Right.
we did actually talk before the board,
Okay.
you know, I don't know, 6 months ago, before we started the process, and you authorized it.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. So now we're going to get on to other business quick. Talking about Duck Pond Road and Barberry Road. Anybody interested in purchasing those, we need to get them to Heather by May 16th at 2 PM, which
The ad
is,
has been
which is
running.
next Thursday. So I've gotten a few phone calls, but
Next Friday.
is the 16th
And
Friday?
those have clean title, we've checked, but we did an abstract, we didn't do a title policy, but we did an abstract to make sure, and it was Barbary Road that actually came from the same developers as
Really?
Duck Pond.
It's amazing.
Yes, next Friday, the 16th.
Next Friday?
Yeah.
Okay, so by 2 PM, they've got to be into the Heather's office.
So we have interested people already.
Nobody's submitted. I've gotten several phone calls.
I've gotten phone calls.
I've gotten one last
What
week.
happens if nobody, by May 16th, do we
We still own it.
extend it?
You were gonna list it with a realtor.
Then we could list it with a realtor maybe. We're going to get bids. They may not be high, but we're going to get bids. I know that for a fact. There's people that were very interested. And
Just waiting to see.
yeah, I don't know what their thought process is, but they've certainly called. So I've got emails, I got phone calls, so I know.
Nothing formal yet.
Nothing formal yet. So, the beach survey, we're gonna start that soon. I have a meeting in Highland next Wednesday with Ulster County Soil and Water and Stewart and I and Bond to identify properties where we're gonna do the testing and kick that off. So hopefully that'll be well under its way and we'll get a report by fall if everything goes good. And then, we all wanted to discuss the town funds. So, more than happy to do that. We've got the April 30th balances for the different funds. Just so you know, the general savings, we're going to, in about 2 weeks, we're going to add $786,871 to that. The highway savings, we're going to add $1,568,000 to that. those are the tax levies that Heather's collected that she turned over to Bryn, and then we distribute them to the appropriate funds,
That,
usually in
the
the middle of May.
highways in middle of May?
So 1,568,000 for highway, and the general will be $786,871. And that's what we collect in tax levy. So that will give the general savings at about 2.2 million. 2.2 million. And it gives the highway savings at about 1.9 million. Now, granted, one thing about,
1.882.
right. I didn't get my calculator out.
We're gonna get the interest for a month, so it'll be.
It'll be 1.9 soon. The thing about highway is that's pretty much all they get for the year. So they will get some CHIPS money reimbursed in the fall, late fall, early winter, or late fall, we'll say. So that's all they get. You know, the town still will receive sales tax revenue. We'll receive. We just got our mortgage tax. We didn't get the check yet, but we were notified. It's about 97,000, which is, I think it's up a little bit. I think last year was like 92,000 for the first one. There were a couple years after COVID, we were getting 200,000 for these checks. So they're down, it's down over 100,000. But I budgeted 220 for the year, which is what we hit last year. So the second half of the year, hopefully it'll pick up a little. It did last year, and we hit the 220. But marijuana sales tax, we're going to get our first check, which is about $7,800 for a quarter. And that's,
Where does that go into?
so that'll go into the general. That all goes in. You know, everything goes into general, and then to go into the building replace or the capital reserve or the new highway garage or the retirement would be done by town board resolution to move the money out of there. So
The trend for the highway budget.
the what? The
The
trend.
trend over the last few years, are we seeing that we're over budgeting, and then what flexibility do we have in that budget? I know that the state provides a portion of
By
that,
we, what do you mean, Tim?
the town, us.
We, the board, don't have anything over it, because we don't oversee that. We're given that.
Right. We do prepare it and approve it.
Right. We approve it. Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, like us and every other, you know, the High Falls Water District, we all want to have some reserves, you know, for unexpected.
Sure.
So highway raises 1.5 million in taxes, and they'll be close to, after this truck purchase, they'll have about 600,000 or 700,000 in reserves. So it's about 40% of their overall budget in reserves, which is still significant. Us, on the other hand, will have about 250% of what we tax in reserves, 200%. So our budget is healthier than,
What is the truck purchase again? I'm sorry.
say that again?
Truck purchase with.
So the truck purchase, we already paid the 180,000. So the truck purchase is going to be 300 between both. And they ended up the year with, I think, about 900 and something in reserves. So take that 300 out, they'll be down to 6. And then after this year's budget, they'll probably put another 100,000 back in reserves. So, but again, that's if there's no unforeseen issues with CHIPS money. We don't have a bridge collapse that we have to spend money to fix, or a culvert that's going to be a few $100,000, which shouldn't happen, but you never know.
And the new highway garage money, that's just money we've allocated to sort of get started on.
Yeah, it's for planning and preparation.
And are we gonna, so on the garage, I know we were trying to apply for some grant things with Rosendale and it didn't work out. Are we gonna reapply for that or?
So, yeah, so we've applied twice and have not gotten that grant. So, you know, the state, but we don't know what grants are available until the state budget gets approved, because that's when all the funding for the different consolidated funding applications or grants. So I do think we'll apply one more time, and if it doesn't work this time, we're going to have to decide if we just want
What
to.
we want to do.
So,
We got it. The garage is just
yeah, we need to have a new highway
kicked
garage.
down that particular can has been kicked down the road so many times. I feel bad. We haven't made some real progress on that before I leave the board, so.
But I think it's worth trying one more time to apply. I mean, if we do it, the July deadline, we find out in November, December. So if we don't get it, then we just start planning to do it on our own.
The Community Preservation Fund?
Yep.
Does that include the grant?
Yes.
That's what I thought. 'Cause I was gonna say, oh my God.
Yep, that's the 500,000 is included.
Okay.
Any questions on anything?
No, I do think that when you look at this, Daisy, you and I have talked about this, Richie, you and I have talked about it a little bit. Tim, I haven't talked to you about this, but I do think, and we were on this until Jeremy left, is doing a reval of the town with what has gone on. When you look at these dollars, the reallocation, how people are paying their taxes, there is a large portion of our population that will see a significant decrease in their taxes when you reval the town. Because like when a property, Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, but when a property is purchased, sale price, just say $2 million. The assessment of that property does not change, stays at what it was.
So it's assessed at 400,000 and it sells for 2
$2
million, the
million.
town can't raise the assessment to 2 million.
Until you do a reval. So we've had,
Or they improve their property.
when you look at over the last 3 years, if the charts I give you guys quarterly on what's going on with the real estate market, and you look at what's going on with purchases in our town, right? When you do that reval, it's going to have a dynamic effect on a lot of people that really need to have that effect. Now, we'll go back to the school, just double down on you, and you'll be right back in the same spot, my ultimate whipping boy. But, I mean, I just think, that'll be after I leave the board, but I do think that is a project that really, really, really needs to take place because it will help an incredible amount of people.
And can you talk a little bit about the reval?
No.
The progress on it? No, I mean, I know it's happening.
We haven't discussed it.
Because
We
we only have a
new
part-time
assessor.
person right
We have a
now.
new assessor now and we haven't discussed it. I mean, the assessor would be involved with it, but it's an outside company that does.
Right, that's what I
You-
knew. That's what I was trying to remember.
Finished it last year, and it was, I think, 100,000 for the outside. And
Really?
then,
Well, that's not bad. We were told it could be a lot more than that.
and then she had to basically go in and tweak certain things.
Yeah, but how many parcels do they have versus us?
Hurley could be the same size as us parcel wise.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's population wise, we're pretty close.
Right.
They're a little bit bigger than us, so I'm sure.
That's all good news. But my point is, I just think that is something that I'm kind of see
Yeah,
as
push it.
like it should just be done. And then with, again, Rich, you correct me when I get out of line here, but when
You're wrong, Kenny.
yeah, of course I am. Of course, but in 3 years I'll be right. But once we do this reval with the new technologies we have, as those properties are sold, then those assessments can alter with that or no?
That I don't know.
So
No?
So
Probably
it's
not.
not legal to welcome buyer.
Right.
If there's a change, I mean, and that's how they get around it, is
Right.
that somebody advertises their house and the record shows it had 2 bathrooms and 3 bedrooms, and now it's saying 3 bathrooms, 4 bedrooms.
They're doing work without telling the town, then they can
Then
reevaluate.
they can go
Okay.
back through and.
Got it. And then it-
But, or if
Oh,
every.
and that's what I meant. So that with the technology they have there, then they can see that when somebody's doing a development on their property, and you'll be able to see.
Or
It. Okay.
if there's a, let's say she takes a block of anything that's over 6,000 square feet and looks to have those be compatible comparable with
Right.
each other and then affect, how it.
Okay. But it gives you better opportunities. And also, I think the last thing on that, if I'm not mistaken, what I heard last year is when we do that, because we've revalved from a grant standpoint, it helps us out to some extent because that's a new.
Yeah, a lot of
And
grants
the
ask, when is your
equalization-
last time your town did a
equalization
revaluation?
Mhm.
That is asked. Remember it was asked on the grant you did?
Grant, yeah.
And the equalization rate gets. a little bit more
We don't know where that would
Yeah, I'll-
push us.
We'll talk to Susan. and
She's, by the way, I like to comment, I spoke to her this week for the first time.
Meeting the criteria.
I was very pleased. and
Yeah,
impressed.
Yeah, we have a new assessor for anybody that doesn't know. She's
That would,
retired from the city of Oswego assessor and moved down here. She's part-time, but she's really a good part of the team, right? She's great. Everybody likes her and
Bakes cookies.
she bakes cookies for us. She's wonderful.
You know what I mean?
And
It's the only
That's
time,
the
it's the only time we see
criteria.
Kenny.
That's changed.
And you don't see me then.
All right, so we're good. Beach survey, Duck Pond Barbary, get your bids in. Any other question, anything, Daisy, anything with you?
Just, we're having our, sometimes weekly, sometimes every other week, meetings with Ted Fink. The ADU stuff is now cleared that off our plate. And now we're just looking at larger comprehensive zoning laws in our town and how we can improve them and make things easier for affordable housing and for young families that are looking to buy homes. So that's what we're working on now.
And Ted sent us something.
Yeah, I saw it. It's actually, look, it's very, very good.
Yeah. He's good. Tim?
I attended my first High Falls Water District Board and with Rosendale and Morriltown there. Found out I was a voting member. I didn't know that before. But so we reviewed the solar projects primarily, and then we got an update from Terry on the progress of the meters, et cetera. I think there's probably going to be some openings on the board soon that people were talking about stepping down, but so we'll have to pay attention to that.
It's a tough board to find people.
Yeah.
The people on the board have to be in the water district.
3 of the people have to live in the water district. And one town board member from Marbletown, one town board member from Rosendale. They don't have to live in the water district. The 3 on the board have to live in the water district.
I mean, and we did vote to recommend to us 2 different potential contractors for the solar project, as well as for the review for the energy appraisal portion of that. But we stipulated as a board very cautiously to have legal review of the recommendation in case there was any conflicts with the DEP and their DEC. I'm sorry, I keep getting those.
That's okay.
Whether they're going to collaborate with us on the solar project. So they were very cautious in the way they recommended.
So we're hoping, so they reached out maybe 2 weeks ago, DEC, their engineer, who's WSP, I don't know what that stands for, they're out of Jersey, but that's the engineering firm. They said the DEC would like to move forward, working with the town on the solar project at the High Falls Water District. She asked me for some dates that I was available. I gave her to her, and she said, I will work with the DEC team and get back to you, and I haven't heard back from her, so. And I gave her dates the last week of April, the first week of March, so as you can tell, she's gonna have to resend me the email to start this over again, because it was about 2 weeks ago. And I was available like every day, except today, because I go to Catskill Watershed, but, so they're interested, they just gotta get moving.
Yeah, because it really affects the size of that project.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, tremendously. So.
Yep.
For the HPC, I just want to say 3 of the members are now this week at the State Preservation Conference. Excited to be trained. They're being trained.
Where is that?
It's in Poughkeepsie.
Nice. Oh, yeah, the Grand Hotel.
Yeah. Being trained again in the CLG and their duties and other skills. So it's really good to see them do that.
Good, thanks, Tim. Ken, anything?
No, nothing.
Heather?
I sent out the reminder letters to people that have not paid their taxes as of yet. They went out last week, and it gives them till June 1st. We'll see what happens.
Right, after June 1st, you have to pay the county your taxes. The town cannot accept them any longer.
Can you talk a little bit about the updating of the website? Because I thought that was.
Oh, so it went live today.
Oh, it did?
Went live. There's some kinks. So we have a new website. So if anybody goes to Marbletown, so we're working on it. I'm not working on it. Michelle's working on it. For some reason, you can't just go marbletown.net. You have to go www.marbletown.net. If you just do marbletown.net, it comes up invalid. So they're working on that to try to make it so you don't need the www. But the website's really cool. And Michelle's just kind of started to scratch the surface of
There are
what's
some kinks and things that didn't
Yep.
necessarily pull over, but
from the
it's
old
gonna
website.
take her a little bit and people just have to be patient.
And she said Civic Plus, the vendor we use, she said they've been amazing. They answer every question. They stay on the phone with her. And so if anybody finds anything like wrong or mistaken, just send us an email and we'll get it. Like if you go on the planning board page or the town board page, our names don't appear. So that's all getting pulled over from the old website. It's nothing
Still
difficult,
being
but
worked on.
And is that gonna roll into where the permits and paying for the permits?
Yep.
will go?
Yep, so now it's updated. We can do that. So I've been speaking
Coming
to
into the 21st
the
century.
credit card people. They're gonna start integrating it. We want to wait till it gets up and running before we start fiddling with it, but it's,
And you said there's going to be financial tabs so that people can look to see where.
and again, none of the financial stuff came over. So there's a few things that didn't come, actually, some of it came over, but not all of it. So we're working on that. Michelle's working to get everything taken over.
Well, I see there is a financial tabs report.
Yeah, but I think there's things missing on it. If you notice,
There's a
it's,
few things on there, but I don't think it's consistent.
Looks good.
it's a nice page. It's a nice website. So,
I did want to just, if I can, just go back. I did attend the planning board meeting and the Philair property
Yep.
was subdivided into two sections. Again, OSI was there to represent themselves. And there was a lot of discussion and interest about the future of that property and, you know, to be a part of the design and planning.
I think we've been pretty clear. Anything except a single-family house will have to come back to the planning board on that property. If somebody builds a single-family house, they can do it. If they're going to do anything, well, actually, you could probably do, our law allows two per, but it'd be the same owner. But if there's any further development, it's got to come back in front of the planning board. And that's another thing, Trace, we have to start that process to buy the property. So Bill Egger said he'll have all his paperwork done within a month. So maybe we'll shoot for June. We'd have to have a resolution to be able to close on the property.
So just
Yeah.
clarify for me then, the property in the back, it's, I'll call it the park option portion of it, is going to be owned by,
So OSI is going to keep that for now.
Okay.
We've got 3 years to purchase it.
Okay.
Our preservation fund will purchase, I think that's 75 acres.
Yeah.
And then the 15 acres is going to come out of our reserve money.
the town.
And that's around 240, plus we'll pay the survey fee, so 245, whatever that, 250, whatever that comes out to, those fees.
In the meantime, we're applying for a Hudson Highland grant for the open space portion, which would.
Well, the state applied for that on our
State.
behalf. The parks preservation, historic preservation. So that's for the bigger lot. We hopefully will get, what do you say, 250 is what
And they
we're.
capped the number on what they want for that property.
Who?
In the 3 years that we have an option, is there an option, is there a number on it?
Yeah, it's 540, I think, and that stays the same. It doesn't change whether we paid for it tomorrow or in 3 years. It
Right,
stays the
that's
same. So. Yeah, and then, I did look at, and Trace, I'm gonna ask you to do. No, well, so town law gives municipalities a lot of leeway to work with housing organizations. If we ever owned it and then wanted to transfer the property to a housing organization, the law gives municipalities a lot of leeway to be able to do that. So that's good news for us. If we want to work with Habitat or Rupco or another private developer, we could actually just transfer the property to them. you know, we could go through the planning board process, and then once it's approved, we could transfer it to them then, there's a lot of host of different things, but it was good news. It's really the burden just falls on us from here on out for everything with it, so. Cut out some red tape.
Is there a timeline on the 15 acre?
So we had 6 months to purchase it from when the subdivision was approved, or 3 months. I think it was 6 months. So the goal is June. We want to get OSI paid up. This is the first time OSI has ever done a project that includes a housing portion. So, we want to make it work for them. The 75 acres, we have 3 years to pay. The 15 acres, we have, whether it was 3 months or I think it was 6 months. So we want to get that paid off, and we want to own it, as soon as possible. So.
I think that my only comment, well, yeah, lots of comments, but on this would be, I think there needs to be a lot of further look at by doing, and I'm just talking about the open space portion of all this, by doing this, what are you doing to the overall value of the community, right? And on one hand, that's helpful, right? Because when we do the revow, most people are going to end up with more equity in their home, right? I don't know about anybody else, but when I look at my home and the value of it, I use the assessed value. So that value is going to go up. So I'm instantly going to have more equity just on paper, right? Which helps you if you're trying to do projects on your home and whatnot. But on the other hand, the penalty stroke of non-development and people leaving the community is pretty heavy. There were full-time residents, and I don't know the answer. I just know that it is, it's a thing. And that needs to have not a kind of 3 to 6 month window look or a 1 year. It's got to have like a 5-10 year, like, what is this actually doing? Because when you look at the last transaction, it was very evident when you look at what the real estate world was doing during that there was an instant boost in what those values were. Like, it was like right after we did that, those prices went up and popped heavily, like to $150,000 to $200,000 transaction differential. And again, I only use my one data point, but it just points out that needs to be looked at, because I don't know if it's good or bad. I just know it is, right? So that's what I would point out when you're looking at that, going, you're going to make that investment. What's the other side of that investment, right?
Well, you're talking about, I don't know who has that expertise or could to do that
No
valuation.
one on this board.
No. And give us that evaluation, if,
And it's a
Planning.
great question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
but the other piece too, it's pretty fast to move forward for June purchase. How much do we want to have in our ideas around what the future of that property will be? There's a lot of work to be done and decisions to be made and community engagement to be done. And then it brings, into discussion around the water district and the role of that in that potential development. And that's a long-term plan. So how do you?
Necessarily. So I
Okay.
had a meeting yesterday, Monday. Yeah, yesterday. Marianne and I met with the DEP, and we are going to start, not this week, next week. We are going to start working with them to come up with an agreement. We're going to do a water district study, and it's going to start. And so DEP is also, when the water district was built, Dennis Larios, Brenner Larios did like just a small analysis to run a water line from the High Falls Water District to the Rosendale Water District. So if we ever had an aqueduct shutdown, we could pull from Rosendale's water. If Rosendale ever had an emergency or needed a backup supply, they could pull from the aqueduct. So part of this water study is also going to include, DEP wants to include that possibility to pay for something like that, or to part of the study. So anyway,
That they would pay for the study.
they may pay for the funds too, because there's
Yeah, actually-
wells are going dry.
So the
when they
study,
shut down.
so the study would be determine whether or not it would be more prudent for them just to pay for a water district for us.
To extend it and pay for
Extend
it.
the water
And what areas? We've got areas when
Just
the,
because
when the shutdown happened, people's wells went down 60, 70 feet.
Yeah, it seems strange because Stone Ridge has not been impacted hugely yet. We don't have enough
Well, they don't know,
applications
but
from
that's,
there.
yeah, but they haven't, they just don't know. And the problem is they had this issue with, was it Warwick or
Worsing,
Worsing?
We're seeing, and New Windsor.
New Windsor.
It's like right now they're digging up lines in New Windsor because they shut that tunnel down when they were cutting over to go under the new tunnel under the Hudson River. And they did all these analysis and they found an area that wells were going to go dry, and they did all their due diligence. They got a new water district there. They shut this thing down, and within 3 months, all these other areas started going dry wells. Wells were going dry. So they were just getting equipment and just digging up roads and laying pipes. He's like, they weren't even doing environmentals. They had to get people water so bad that it was that bad. So they don't want to make that mistake.
What they're worried about is
Here.
when they eventually shut everything down,
Right.
it might be a much bigger problem.
Right. And they
Yeah.
want to be
I'd
prepared.
love to see this study.
So hopefully we'll be voting on it in a couple months. I mean, we're gonna meet with them, and then we're gonna figure out what the scope of the study is gonna be. And then we'll pass an agreement and they'll fund the study.
Again,
That'd be excellent.
I just look at it, tying all these discussions we've had together. The critical part of all of this is water, period. Like, to develop, to do anything, growth, maintain, the water is the issue.
Yeah.
And when they fix that aqueduct, it is going to become a very large issue. And people of this community need to understand that a little clearer. And remember when they first came out, they did what, Rich, 31 homes in the first study?
Yep.
And they gave us $1.25 million, $45,000 a home. And now it's up to 600,000 or 600 properties.
And they just extended it now. So,
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at that, you're between 6 and 800 at 45,000 a pop.
well, no,
That's
it's not that much.
I'm going from their first one. You know me, I come up with anything to make an argument, but that's 25 to 30 million dollars that they know. The DEP knows this. They know that. If
Yeah,
they can get away, if
and-
they can get away with $1.25 million, they will.
And listen, the water district study might come back that they don't have to pay for it. It's not, we don't know what it's going to come back. But, there are some areas wells are going dry. And it's, when they shut it down. So
People of those other communities that got those
we're not
water
going dry,
districts
but we'll know.
went with that concept, improved that, and they got themselves a kick butt out ski water district in each of those towns.
And remember, we have county money and COVID money. And Kevin Cahill got us some money before he left office. So we do have some money.
Right. If it doesn't work
We
out,
can get it pretty darn close to that property already. So that's what we have to just decide what we're going to do. Listen, it's a beautiful piece of property. There's been 4 or 5 housing developments proposed there. The reason it wasn't done was because they couldn't agree on a price with the owner, not because the lot's not adequate for housing and a really good location for housing. It's a perfect location for housing. So that's not the issue. There's fields. You're not knocking many trees down. The front end is retail, is zone commercial. It's as perfect a piece. Our Hammett plan, which we spent a year developing, calls for housing there. We had people at public hearings support that comprehensive plan change. So we have an obligation as a board to go by that comprehensive plan. That's a living document, and a comprehensive plan calls for housing there. So we're comfortable.
land price is they're not gonna go down. They're gonna just keep going up.
Yep.
So buying it now gives us the flexibility to shape future development, how we see that development there for affordable housing and what we wanted to look at. And it puts us in the driver's seat. Whereas if a developer had gone in, I just remind everybody again, when they had this conversation about developing that, was it about 6 or 7 years ago? And
Town center?
yeah, and that's the same exact
The same
property when they were
property,
doing and they did water testing. There was a lot of upset because they determined that there was plenty of water there. So, In other words, a private developer could have gone in and put up 6 or 7 houses and just determined that it's fine. We don't need to worry about whether water's going there. So again, it's to me, it's preferable that's in the town hands and we can steer what this is going to look like.
Yeah, listen, we're in the first or second inning of a long baseball game, you know, it's, but we'll get there. If we don't own the property, we can't do anything. So we're going to own it. And like Daisy said, it'll give us a lot of good options. Cool. All right. Any other discussion before we open it up to public comment? Anybody? All right. If anybody would like to speak, did anybody sign up?
Nobody signed
Nobody
up.
signed up. So raise your hand. Vivi, you can go.
First of all, again, I would urge you to think about microphones. You know, it's hard for a lot of people to hear what you're saying, and it's important to listen. The other thing is, I sent some of you a memo about the possibility that Peter Buffett would be interested in supporting the community center project. So I was disappointed that you didn't, move forward.
Well, I think it's
Okay.
terrific. I
It's,
didn't not reply because I just wanted to discuss it with everybody. Oh, yeah. No. But I just also, but if that worked out, that'd be fantastic, depending on how much
It was.
money. you
Thank you
raise.
for-
And thank you for doing that.
And it will help focus, yes, what we need to get in the way of data in order to have
So
conversations.
now, has any data been captured?
We haven't seen it yet.
No bids yet? Nothing yet?
Okay.
We're still waiting for the report, the actual report. It's a booklet that's going to go out. And I'm as frustrated as you are.
What's the
And-
report?
It's a report. Okay, so the reason we have a town engineer assessing the building, because it's not just, the issues with the building aren't just, you're sort of straightforward, the roof needs to be fixed. There's issues that they're going to involve the DOT, structural issues. So our town engineer is putting together a booklet that will then go out to contractors to bid. But it has to be a really thorough report so that there's no unexpected things, so we know roughly what kind of numbers we're dealing with. So and we're waiting for that report right now.
And who's doing that?
That's
You know who's doing it.
He knows.
Okay.
That's Scott.
Thank you, Vivi.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
continuing the question.
yes, he is.
And
Yes, he
when
is.
do you think that'll be done?
We don't know. It'll be done.
Well, yeah, we do have some idea. He told me that the report would be done, the actual report should be done around between the beginning of June to the middle of June. That's what will be done. Like I said, I'm as frustrated as you are, but that's where we are. And I
But you know what, in Scott's defense, to some level, and I do understand time is of essence. At some level, you got to look at this a little bit and go, as a board, we want to make the right choice with the right information and not just get partial information, because so many times we get partial information on things. And then all of a sudden you look at it and go, you put money into something or did a project, and it's like, now we got to do the project again.
or we got to do more.
Right. Then, and you got to take you take worse off is you have to take some of what you did, because you put the icing on the cake, but the problem is there's no batter. Like the cake's not even there, so you got to make sure that that's all done. So I think that to get it correct. Yeah, Vivi, it's been a while,
Hasn't been
and
too
at the same time, it's
Yeah.
also changed what the scope of the project is changed multiple times. So, when you're talking to an engineer and you keep changing what you want them to do, you got to make sure that they're doing what we want, right? So, I mean, and trust me, we would all like to have the information, because me, you give me some numbers, I can at least look at it and make a decision. Until then, can't make a decision.
Okay, thanks. Jill, you have your hand up?
Yes. I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Gail Joaquin and Juliet Stokes. They were the ones that spent countless hours on this playground project. And just, back and forth, and thank you all for accepting this and updating the park. It's going to be fantastic. It really is. It's going to be great for our summer camp. I don't know if it'll happen this year, but going forward, it's going to be huge.
And Daisy wants to be the first one to go down the slide.
Yay. So thank you.
He's got to sign a waiver.
Those, Gail and Juliet really.
Yeah, they did.
spent a lot of
And
hours
it
on
was
this.
frustrating, and there was a lot of like confusing numbers, and they went out to a bunch of different places, and they really did their work with due diligence, and it's great work.
We've been wanting to do this for so long, and we just don't have the hours to do it, so this was awesome that they were able to take it on. So thank you.
And thank you for your leadership for a long time, but also you've adapted to this new committee and really you've been able to use their support. It would be great to think in the future. It'd be great to hear from you, like with the committee, like usage now, some numbers, who's using it, where are they coming from? It
Well, I
would be
also-
great to see that.
Yeah, and I also have another direction that I'd like you to steer them a little more toward, because you're so good in this with the camp and all of these things. But I think that they should also need to start focusing on activities, things to bring the town together. Like Amy had that idea about, people meeting to walk their dogs, which I think is terrific. We can all get to know our neighbors, because I think that's part of what the reason for this committee is to create community, help, create more community. And I have a few other ideas, which I will discuss at the next meeting.
Great.
Cool. Thank you, Jill, and thank you for your work. Laura?
Hi, I'm Laura Cunningham, 44 years here. I'm totally confused about the Facebook Town of Marbletown community. I see you're on live now, but where's the archive? I've constantly looked, and the videos ended, it looked like February 18th. But that archive is crucial. That's how the press and people that can't attend on a Zoom or only a live broadcast get their information.
Okay, so two quick things. One, there's no requirement for municipalities to videotape or save or anything, just minutes that the town clerk does. That's our only legal requirement. So unbeknownst to us, Facebook notified every vendor that they would only keep videos for 90 days. They were deleting videos after 90 days. So that's why we switched to YouTube, because they will be kept in perpetuity, we hope, unless YouTube changes their policy. So it's nothing the town did. If you have an issue, it's a Facebook issue, really. It's not a town issue.
Could this be
well, no,
sent as an alert? I mean, I didn't know this.
Well, then that's why you asked. And
Better than
so
Monday.
there's no legal requirement for the town to archive videos. Like I said, we have minutes. The actions that we take are recorded. They are kept with Heather in her office, and they will be for 10, 20, 30, 50 years, 100 years. And that's until the state changes our legal requirement. This is over and above, but that's all we can do. We had no idea Facebook was going to change their policy and delete videos after 90 days. If we did, we would have gone to YouTube a long, long time ago.
Well, I think they should still be there for 90 days because reporters constantly go to the archive videos to find. I work for every publication around here, and the archive is a precious resource.
Well, they can go to YouTube.
Information.
They can go to YouTube.
They don't know that.
Well, listen, if you go to our Facebook page, or you go to our Facebook page or our town website, there are links to the YouTube video. It says on YouTube. So we are trying, but like I said, we are doing our legal responsibility. We want to go over and above, and I think we're trying, and we do go over and above, but we can't control Facebook and what they do with their rules and policies. So thank you, Laura. Anybody else like to speak? Thank you.
So, just a point that
that Scott is working on, is it going to be similar to like the fire, when you're buying a house, you hire an inspector? And
No.
these are graded, like what is urgent?
No,
No? It's
no,
just-
he's creating bid documents on what needs to be done and what contractors. So when a contractor has to do drainage, he's gonna have the drainage work that needs to be done and people are gonna bid on it. The roof, he's gonna do all the roof work and what needs to be done. It's,
Because the contractor's gonna have to go out to individuals to do these things. I mean, they'll be coordinating, but they've got to know what.
right, what they're bidding
You
on.
don't have
That's
to
everything.
see it.
Yeah, somebody will bid on it.
Yeah.
Hopefully somebody will bid on it. There's, well, I'm not being wise. I mean, there's municipal projects that no bids come in because the contractors are so busy. So it's not out of the realm of possibly happening.
Water district for 2 years.
Yeah, we couldn't get bids for the water meters for years because everybody was busy doing water meters. So we're getting no bids. Forget bidding high, we weren't even getting any bids.
So how long is the bidding process going to be open?
30 days, 45 days. It's not open that long. So, and then usually we have a couple weeks to award the bid. You know, you want to go to the,
No, I mean, if nobody bids.
well, then we'd have to start the whole process over again, advertising.
Or rebid it.
You'd have to rebid it and it's whole,
30 days?
well, that would be a board decision. If nobody bid on it in 30 days, then we would have to revote to go back out to bid again. I mean, I don't know if we'd go out, maybe we wait 3 months or 2 months. I mean, hopefully we'll get bids, but I'm just saying, we've had projects where we've gotten no bids. So, and I know other towns and it's happened to them too.
And what is the deadline for using the grant?
Oh, that's a separate.
That's a separate
That's
one.
totally separate. That will be done.
Yeah.
That's the heating thing, and that is. a
That's totally
completely
separate.
Track, has nothing to do with the other part. And that is actually being, those numbers are being.
Finalized now.
Right now as we speak, they're being
Is
finalized.
that- my
Okay, Laura,
understanding
thanks.
is soon.
Yeah, that's.
It will be.
It is. Yeah, they'll be gone. As long as they're in the process of working on it, they're fine.
Who's responsible for sending the quote out? Once the report is done?
Scott will do that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we don't need the sarcasm. I mean, we appreciate your question. We answered your question. We answered your question. Any, yeah, we're gonna, when everybody's done, we're gonna go
Okay, I just wanted to
very
make sure
briefly
that-
into executive session, but is everybody, any other questions? Anybody like to say anything, comments, questions? Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion. We go into executive session to discuss some litigation. And can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just so everybody knows, when we come out of executive session, we're just gonna adjourn the meeting. We don't plan on taking any action, so thank you, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
This is just for you.
Oh, yes.
You'll be here.
Oh, yes.